reason they're concerned, specifically about 2 or 3 of them really were concerned because they have underlying health conditions. So if there are 2 or 3 students in the school were happen to be around and bring that home, they're fearful that those children could not have parents because of if they happen to get it. So each of these 2 or 3 parents or 2 or 3 sets of parents have about 8 or 9 children in the school. So each of them have about 2 or 3 children. But there were other parents that actually expressed the interest to get the information through Parent Square. Not specific people, obviously that's not legal, not specific, not specifics, but at the same time, what building, what grade, and what the school is doing to handle it. That's what they want to know. Information is power these days, and I think the school needs to make sure to take the narrative on this before it gets too crazy. If people are worried about lots of people hearing about COVID all over the place, that's another reason to be concerned with. There's a lot of COVID cases in the school, then we have to look at other actions to take at that point. But if we have 1 or 2, one in this building and one in this building, I think it's important to get it out to the parents through Parent Square, information-wise, each case. Again, not specific names, obviously that's not legal, but more, let them know what's going on. So, thank you.
And just so you know that we do have that posted on the website. We have sent that link out several times so that people can see that. So I know Mr. Self was going to kind of show us where that was at. It may not be ready to do it right now, but and then all the parents that anybody that's close contacts are personally contacted. So there is a lot of communication going on. Could we probably do better? Yes, but we chose a long time ago not to blast it out for privacy reasons. So we're only giving the school information. So it's not identifiable by class on which the students are. So that information is readily available. Oh, you're going to pull it up there. And anybody in the, we were going to pull it up, right? And anybody in the community can sign up for an email almost kind of close to that same place. So, whoopsie. We can come back to that at another point. Technology, it's always great when it works, right?
Right. It was asked if, since we have Parent Square and it being so helpful with the communication, to be, and we're having COVID cases at this point very, very sparsely.
Actually, we're averaging at least 1 to 2 a day now recently. So.
Oh, that may be concern for something else, but.
Right now, anyway. We're still operating. So all right. Thank you.
Any other patron comments? Thank you. All right, then do we have some presentations tonight?
Actually, they would like to be able to put the cross-country team first, if that's okay.
I'm not sure. Is that
good?
Okay.
All right, yeah, go.
Okay.
All right.
I thought they wanted to go first. Okay.
Fine. We'll go, because I know some of these kids have to do other things, so.
All right.
Work and other things. So.
Okay, so then we're going to pop down to 4.1, recognition of the cross-country team.
Well, we're very proud of all of our fall athletic programs, and certainly this year we had many challenges. And this team had their share of challenges as well at times, but we got through it. Rose above. The guys just had a great season, and so I'd like to turn this over to our head coach, Jody Sarver. This team has traditionally been very strong, and certainly this year is probably one of our better teams as well. So, Mr. Sarver, if you'd like to come up and introduce who you have here and kind of share with some of your accomplishments this year. Very honored to have this group here tonight.
So, sorry, can you hear okay through this? Yep.
So when Dr. Libby asked to recognize us, I mean, I was kind of taken back at the same time because, I mean, these kids work hard and they don't do it for the accolades, but obviously very, very excited to share this nonetheless. Sorry, I got Lane on FaceTime since he's being quarantined. He wanted to be here too. So I got Lane Stansel in my left hand, Josie Briner, Carter Becky, Kendrick Metzger, Caden Markham, Caden Dillon, Kay Jones, and we had some others, obviously, that had great seasons. But anyway, Coach Shoemaker and I had to decide what to do come spring, March 13th, when we closed school. And then a short time later found out that that was it and track season was over. So we started cross country, and most of these guys bought in, and they were running religiously. They were working out. We were doing core workouts on Zoom in our living rooms, holding paint cans or whatever we could find. Time bottles. We were running and then sending a quick Marco Polo, a video texting app, to let the rest of the team know, hey, I got my run done today. You know, you get out and do the same. Anyway, they worked really hard, and despite the fact we didn't have a track season, we didn't have school for those months, and couldn't have a running club in the summer, and a lot of things that held against us. I mean, these guys did awesome. So proud to say that in a non-class sport, we had both Josie and the entire boys team make it to semi-state, and when you look at some of the schools and the sizes that we have to beat to do that, I mean, they deserve this recognition. They worked hard. So, and Coach Shoemaker and I just try to stay out of the way and not mess things up too bad. So, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Well, and one other thing is we always run sectionals at Culver, and of course Culver couldn't have sectionals, so we hosted sectionals, which wasn't a big deal for them because it's their cross-country course. But then we went to Logansport for regionals. We've never ran at Logansport, and so I was talking to coaches, like, where's the best place to stand? You know, what's the course like? I mean, we've just never been there. So they had to get over that obstacle too, and just to get to semi-state. So we're really proud of all the effort that they put forth with this season. And, you know, we did have a little scare there for right before sectionals that, you know, we weren't going to get to run, and we actually did get to run, and everybody was crying, and we were all upset. So for them to get as far as they got this year, we're very, very proud of their effort and their ability. And, you know, we're graduating like 8 seniors, so, you know, that's kind of scary too, that we're not going to be rebuilding, but, you know, we're losing quite a few kids. So we're really proud of them, and we thank you very much for recognizing them.
Grateful for the opportunity. I had seniors in particular that were just worried that this might be the last race, and so they treated it just that way. So for what it's worth, I know there are doubts, different opinions with COVID and everything that's happened, but I think we did it in a safe way, and I think that opportunity was well worth it. So I'm glad we're still here. Thank you anyway.
Would you be willing to come over? We can't shake your hand, but we'd love to at least say congratulations and good job.
We'll run back. Oh, yeah.
Good job. Keep running. Good job.
Thank you for being here.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for all you
Nice
do.
job.
Good job, guys. Thanks for chance.
Great job.
I'm really glad we've added the recognition item to the agenda. It's my favorite part of the meetings. We have 2 presentations. I believe we're starting with Mrs. Janegi for curriculum.
Right, and as she is working her way up there, there is so much that's happening in curriculum, and I know that we just need to keep sharing all the good things happening there. So Ms. Janegi is here tonight just to kind of give you an update of where we are and what great things are happening. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, thank you. I will say that I'm going to start kind of with a broad overview because there's a lot of information to share. And then as we progress through this presentation, which I will try and keep it brief, I'll kind of narrow the focus, so.
Is it not moving?
It's not moving? There it did.
I'll get it.
Okay. So when I go into my office each morning, I have a Post-it note that sits beside my computer, and it says simply focused on learning, period. And so that's my reminder each day of what I need to think about, what I need to do, and that conversations I'm having, I want to make sure that we're doing what's best for kids. So let's take a look at some of the work that we've been doing, kind of our academic focus, and then how we're supporting teachers to get that work done. In the area of curriculum, we have been working through providing guaranteed, which means no matter what teacher you have at a grade level, they'll get the same experience. I know every teacher has their own flavor, and that's perfect, but we're getting the same content taught. It's viable so that anyone, it's easily understood or user-friendly, and we are working on vertically aligned. Actually, with the COVID shutdown in March, we were able to have 2 vertical alignment meetings, and those were fabulous. And we plan to have more of them. It's just right now, we're all just a little busy. Also with curriculum, kind of the result of all of that has been the creation of some scope and sequence documents and some pacing guides. And those pacing guides are posted on the website. Randy, if you can go forward.
Yep, sorry.
Another thing that we've focused on is time on task. We know our time is limited with our students, and we have to make sure that we're maximizing that, and so we've spent the last couple of years identifying our high priority standards, and we'll kind of go through that a little bit more in just a bit. And then finally, if you want to continue, I think it was 2 years ago, it might have been more, 3 years ago, that we created an instructional framework. That framework was provided to all faculty and staff. Basically, we wanted to get a common language around what good teaching looks like, and that's what that framework provided for us. We also not only wanted to provide the framework, but anything we do, we are trying to support that with professional development. So that's kind of the generalized academic focus, but then we have to kind of think about how do we address these needs as a district. So on the next slide, we have adopted the model of being a professional learning community. And basically, that model is how we do our work. And the reality is our work is never done. A professional learning community is always doing a cycle of continuous improvement. And so, as a district, we would say we're a professional learning community. Every building has collaborative teams, and those teams work through all sorts of focal points to answer these questions. So the pillars, focus on learning, collaborative culture, collective responsibility, and results orientation, that all comes from research from the Dufors and company. And the Learning by Doing is a book that we received when we actually attended some professional development. But our teachers have been hard at work answering the 4 essential questions. Each building's at a little different place, but as I talk to principals, we would agree that kind of question 1 has been that linchpin, that identifying what we want our students to know and be able to do, which is those high priority standards I was referring to earlier, that has been a game changer for test scores, for just being able to increase rigor, those types of things. So we really focused in on question 1 a couple of years ago. How will you know if they've learned it? That's about creating these common formative assessments. We've been working hard the past year or so on getting those incorporated as well. And now kind of this year we're starting to have conversations around questions 3 and 4. What are you going to do if they haven't learned it, which is the RTI process? And what will you do if they've already learned it or if they knew it before you even taught it? So those are the things we're working on now, so that differentiated instruction piece. And Randy, if you can kind of just go through, I have a couple of other things on this slide.
Try and click that now.
Oh, I can do it now?
All right.
Do I have to?
I'm sorry.
No.
Here you go.
So how do we support this work? We can't just say we're a professional learning community and bang, we are. We have to have training in order to be a productive and highly effective professional learning community. So we have done several different pieces of professional development, and it was back in 2016 when, Dr. Libby, was that your first year here? 15, 16. We took a team of teachers and administrators to Lincolnshire, and we heard from the best of the best, the Dufours, Dr. Anthony Muhammad, Matos, Eager, all of those people, and we had this core group. So the high school kind of started the PLC process in that building. We took an additional team back in 2017, and we thought, gosh, it's a little expensive to take people there. Why don't we just bring the best of the best to North Manchester? So Dr. Anthony Muhammad came in 2018, and I think a couple of school board members might have been in the audience at that time, listening to him talk, leading us through those questions, those essential questions. And to follow that then, we didn't do anything last year except for in-house professional development, but we brought Michael Roberts in on October 2nd, and he talked about questions 3 and 4, which is our focus kind of as we're moving forward, and he gave us some homework. Teachers are working through that homework now, and he'll be back in December, and we'll do a virtual Q&A with him and some interactive feedback sessions about how that work has progressed. Beyond that, we've also purchased some global PD, which takes the professional learning community speakers and kind of puts bits and pieces of their best information together that we can push out to our teachers. How do we pay for that? If you want to go through just that next list, Title I, Title II, and Strong Start Community Grants were the ones that we used to pay for this kind of training. We also do mentor-mentee training that Title II pays for, and so any new teacher that's brought in, they have kind of a quick course on professional learning communities. When do we do this? Wednesday mornings. We have common planning times at MES and MIS, and then also at the high school, there's intentional time set aside during SRT. So that's kind of the whole professional learning community. So that's how we're getting the work done. So if you want to move to the next slide. So part of being a PLC is looking at data. And so as we looked at our data from the past couple of years, because COVID made things a little weird in the spring, we didn't gather all the data we would have necessarily. We looked at our 2019 iLearn data, we looked at iReady diagnostic data, we looked at some of the mandates coming from the state, especially things like what do we need for computer science or STEM education or project-based learning, those kind of mandates that were coming our way. We looked at all of those things and kind of planned for our high priority areas for this school year. So you'll see those bulleted there. We see an overarching need as a district to grow our reading comprehension specific to nonfiction text. So a lot of our focus when we're looking at professional development is about that. These kind of go hand in hand, increasing academic vocabulary proficiency. Again, when you're reading nonfiction, you're increasing your academic vocabulary proficiency. Again, going back to questions 3 and 4, and how do we service all of our students so that we ensure they're learning at high levels? Differentiated instruction. And then finally, authentic problem solving. Think about our profile of the graduate. We want them to be problem solvers. Authentic problem solving, especially as we're looking at the Department of Education and their initiatives toward STEM, I throw in the A, STEAM, project and inquiry-based learning. All of those things kind of culminated into us pursuing STEM certification, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And again, how do we support those? Randy, if you want to run through those. Professional development. We had a high ability boot camp, and we talked about differentiated instruction, and I think at least Heidi, both you and Jody were in that. Professor Kurtzals from the university led that. It was fabulous. And so that was part of that, meeting that goal. We do book studies. We did the Teacher Clarity book study, which has probably been my favorite book study we've ever done. And I think they're shaking, all 3 of them were in that book study. So it's good stuff, and it's getting us kind of that next level. We also have access to some really nice PBL units that are ready to go as far as a teacher picking them up and being able to use them at the elementary level without a whole lot of training, and so we'll be incorporating those. how do we support this financially, the grants that we're using, and there's a long list of them. We had a high ability competitive grant, $50,000. We used Title I, II, IV. Early intervention grant pays for nonfiction reads. We have our regular high ability grant. We have, Randy, you can click one more time. We have 4 other competitive grants that we have open right now. And all of those things are focused on helping us meet these goals. There's quite a bit of money represented in these areas. I think 50, 47, 50, and $79,000. So all of those things, and I will tell you, anytime I write a high ability or a competitive grant, I try, if the grant allows it, to put stipends in for teachers, and all of these have that. So as our teachers are working through improving their curriculum, they have opportunities to receive a stipend for their curriculum work. I think that's hugely important. Okay, so that last bullet was about STEM and STEAM and PBL and any other acronym I could think of I threw on there. PBL is project-based learning, IBL is inquiry-based learning, and the CS stands for computer science. These are heavy initiatives coming from the Department of Education, and they've planned that out so that they've developed a 6-year strategic plan. We don't need to click on that necessarily, so let's just not do that now for the sake of time. But that, you can go on the website and find that. But it outlines by 2025 that all teachers are PBL and IBL trained, that we have computer science in our schools, that we are teaching STEM integrated curriculum by 2025. All of those things are outlined in that plan. We're trying to be proactive, and with the support of grants and the training that we have access to, we're getting the job done now. So we'll be ready for those mandates, and we can just check those boxes. One thing that's been kind of near and dear to my heart the last 3 weeks at least is STEM certification. And so we have talked about becoming STEM certified for quite some time. We got really serious about it this fall, and through a lot of hard work by a lot of people, we submitted STEM certification applications for all 3 buildings. And so we are now kind of in that waiting stage where we will learn what we need to do in order to kind of address any areas that we didn't cover properly, and then we'll have a chance to defend our application, and then we'll go from there. So STEM certification, we had to show evidence that we have a culture of STEM in our school, that our curriculum reflects STEM and PBL, that our teachers are being trained in that, and that we have partnerships. And I will tell you, our partners came through the letters of support we received from our businesses, from Manchester University, on and on, were stellar. And so we have all of those things that we pushed out as evidence. The DOE requires websites to be submitted, and so we created websites for all of those things. Randy, go ahead and click through that. Additional support for these initiatives. At MES, we are using money from the Bayer Foundation and the Community Foundation of Wabash, grants we received there, to create an outdoor learning lab. There are other things, I think, in their strategic plan that I would like to continue to improve on that area, but with partners like the Boy Scouts, I should have had Caden say something. Caden did his Eagle Scout project in the outdoor learning lab. Sam Reichenbach did his Eagle Scout project in the outdoor learning lab. So we've had all kinds of great collaboration with students, with other community partners that have supported these efforts. Okay. Let's go on to the next slide. Another thing kind of on our radar, and actually I just listened to the State Board of Education's meeting today, is the programs of study. And so this is just a quick recap, because as we're looking at curriculum and we're planning forward, this is kind of coming down the pipe for the class of 2025. So next year's freshmen, this will impact them. And so just quick background, the Office of CTE was at the DOE. It's now moved to the Governor's Workforce Cabinet, and they have taken that under their wing because they already had the post-secondary CTE there, and so now they're kind of doing a backwards planning or they have the post-secondary, they're planning backwards to the secondary, middle school, and so forth. And so things that they're asking us to be very intentional about would be career exploration and employability skills. Those are things that, like in the Create to Think units I was referring to, are in there. So we're trying to check those boxes at the earliest levels possible. Shelley talked about programs of study last time, and I think Heartland was here also, so I'm not going to go into those details. You already heard about business administration from Mrs. Leifer. The one thing I did hear today on the meeting, as I was listening, was 56 of the 75 pathways have been redesigned, including 12 new pathways. And last week they released a career guide, and we don't need to click on that one either for time's sake, but it's there if you're interested. I can share that link with you. But it's good stuff, and it's new, and I'm thankful that we were part of the pilot and the implementation, because we talked to other people, other counselors in the state. They don't even know what programs of study are. So we feel like we have a leg up on at least knowing and understanding what's coming in the next couple of years. I do want to say thank you to Jody Metzger and Shelley and Dr. Lippy for all their work in talking about CTE courses. We've met a lot, and I think it's important to recognize them. These are some of the resources that we use when we plan. When I look at professional development and I look at evidence on what's best practice, these are some of the sources that I've used, and so I thought that was important to give credit to those sources for a lot of the things that we've been doing. And finally, if you could go back 2 slides, I have to say thank you to the STEM Innovation Team. So Randy, if you could click on that link that says STEM Innovation Team. These people spent countless hours working through gathering evidence for our STEM certification process. And so I thought it would be appropriate to say thank you quickly to these people.
It's thinking.
By the way, I have to stop right there. The STEM logo design was by Noelle Waltz. So Missy's daughter actually created our STEM logo, which I think is just an amazing addition to our program. So if you could just go through, we're not going to read their bios, but this will be on the website. These are the people that worked on the STEM plan with me. So, oh, there's some extra pictures. Bill McNeely also helped, but he didn't want his bio on there. So, but he rocked STEM every day in his classroom. Do you have any questions for me? Yeah.
Just one. You said the pathways, a lot of them are getting realigned. Have they figured out a way yet if a kid starts down this pathway and changes his mind halfway through his freshman year? I know that's been a problem in the past that now you're stuck. Have they figured out a way to?
The way they're doing it now, there's a principal's course which freshmen would take. Then there's a concentrator A and B. Some of those can be taken concurrently. So it's feasible that a student could be in a pathway and be finished their sophomore year, or decide, don't really like that pathway, and still have their junior and senior year to change and be fine.
Great.
Yeah, that was a huge concern. Anything else?
I'd just like to thank you. I think this area, in Baric, that we're going to be able to leverage and sort of turn this student count around to a certain degree. One of the things you said, from the Governor's Council was employability skills. So I think that's centered. Did you have any conversations with the local business partners on what they'd like to see other than what we're producing?
I didn't personally, but I know Dr. Lippy has. Shelley has been doing a lot of that legwork. With her work-based learning, she's constantly asking businesses, what do you see in our students? What do you want to see more of? Those kind of things. So absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to everyone for that effort.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
I'd just like to actually thank Sue for just all the work that she puts in on a daily basis. She's amazing. She juggles a lot of different things, a lot of different grants, and keeps the ball rolling, and just can't thank her enough. We can just give her some projects. She takes off with it and does an excellent job. So, thank you.
Thank you. The Heartland Career Center presentation.
They had to pop back off to go to another board meeting, and they will be popping back in, and when they do, then we'll just let them go, if that's okay with the board. Yeah, it's just a timing thing for them, so.
Okay. Then we will move on to consent items. Under the donations, we typically read them aloud because we're so grateful for them, and we want to take some time to highlight each one. So there's a donation of $20 to the, I don't know. Thank you. A donation of $20 to the MJSHS Icarian Plunge publication, cash from an anonymous donor. A donation of $50 to the MJSHS Athletic Program for audio-visual expenses from an anonymous donor. A donation of $50 to MJSHS Athletic Program for audio-visual expenses from Joseph and Donna Drasny. Donation of $105 to the MJSHS Athletic Program for audio-visual expenses from an anonymous donor. Donation of $250 to the MJSHS Cross Country Program for t-shirts from Joel L. Harmon. Donation of $250 to the MJSHS Track and Cross Country teams from the American Legion Post 286. Donation of $250 to the MJSHS Icarian Plunge publication from the Thomas Earl Education Endowment facilitated by the Community Foundation of Wabash County. Donation of $300 to the MJSHS Cheerleading Spirit Fund from Manchester Athletic Booster Club. Donation of $500 to MJSHS Athletic Program for audio-visual expenses from an anonymous donor. Donation of $500 to MJSHS Scholastic Art and Writing Awards from the Thomas Earl Education Endowment facilitated by the Community Foundation of Wabash County. And a donation of $1,200 to MJSHS FFA program from, how do you say that?
Zodis.
From Zodis. We typically approve these consent items as a group, so I'm looking for a motion.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Bedke and a second by Mr. Turflinger. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, and we need to do it orally, is that right? Okay, all those in favor, I'll go first. Yes, Mr. Bedke?
Yes.
Mr. Turflinger?
Yes.
Mr. Hensley?
Yes.
Mr. Esposette?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Recommendations for approval 6.1. Looking for a motion to approve Heather Turflinger as an MIS intramural girls basketball coach.
So moved.
Second.
Was that you, Mr. Esposette?
Yes.
There's a motion by Mr. Bedke and a second by Mr. Esposette. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Bedke?
Yes.
Mr. Turflinger?
Abstain.
Mr. Hensley?
Yes.
Mr. Espeseth?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, so motion carries 5-0-1. Teacher collective bargaining agreement, there was a hearing earlier. Do you want to say anything before we, just looking for a motion to approve?
We're looking for a motion to approve the contract.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Espeseth, is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Bedke, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like somebody to explain to me why I should vote yes for this when we borrowed money and looks like we're gonna use grant money for this year, but we're digging a $258,000 hole next year for the board to figure out how to meet with unknown curriculum.
So when I came to the board and I gave that proposal, the board told me to go ahead and recommend that to the Teachers Association. So that's what we did and that's what we settled on. We know that we have some cost savings things coming. We also know that we're working hard to make sure that happens so our teachers can we actually care very deeply for them. We want them to stay. So we used the stipend to be able to add to that because we know that we were looking at hardly any type of a raise if we were not able to do that. So that's what I brought to the board and that's what we determined in negotiations.
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't state my question the right way. How are we going to make this work next year when we know we don't have the grant money? I mean, I'm looking at this paper that you sent and we're looking at a 3%. Let me state for the record, I wish we could give everybody a 10% raise. We're in the middle of, we're in the middle of a world crisis. But I'm just concerned that we're digging a hole here that we're not gonna be able to get out of. So the teachers at the top of the scale are getting 3%, and I understand why we're giving the lower end more to raise that. My question is, why so much this year?
It all had to do with the stipend. That's what I'm saying, is it all had to do with the stipend, that we added that. With the stipend, we just added it to their base, or to their overall increase, salary increase. So it's not all of that is coming out. Probably you can explain it better than I can, Jeremy, that it's not all coming out of the operations, or not operations, the education fund this year, but it will probably next year, yes. But we also know that through attrition, we were able to save, I don't know, what's it, 138,000, something like that. So we know that that will probably help as well. We always have some flexibility there, plus we know that we are working for cost-saving measures as well.
I think that, Dr. Grimaud, that you were, at least I felt very upfront and honest with the bond money, that it was gonna be used partly for payroll, and then you wanted to have something to negotiate with the faculty.
Correct.
I think we've also sent a message to you that that we want our teachers to have a competitive salary, particularly within the county. And I understand, Dave, where you're coming from in terms of, borrowing the money, but I felt like this, it gave us an opportunity to really take care and show appreciations to our teachers. It also gives us the flexibility. We know there has to be some cost-saving measures so that we don't run into a deficit as we move forward. And anyway, I thought, our best asset that we have are our teachers and our staff. And I know we have hard decisions to make, but I'm grateful that we could, show some appreciations to the level that we were able to. I don't know for sure in the negotiations, but just understanding those who negotiated, I think the teachers understood the position we're in, and I feel like that they came out of negotiations, both sides feeling pretty good about the sacrifice on both sides and where we are and understanding the problem. So I'm certainly in support of this, and knowing very well that we're going to have to make hard decisions in order to have a balanced budget moving forward. I'm not saying that that's all on teachers or administrators. That's cost savings across the board, which I think everybody understands. We have to get to that point. So nobody, anyway, I'll leave it at that.
And I agree with most of what you said too. I think we just need to have a conversation and make sure everybody understands that there's going to be tough cuts coming, and it's nothing personal to anybody. Like I said, I wish we weren't in this financial situation, but I don't know.
Well, it's how you respond to the situation. So, you just got to report on curriculum, and that's what I mean. We got to focus on what builds the school system and quit treading water. And so in education, you borrow money to pay people. That may be normal for education, but that puts knots in my stomach, thinking about that. But you're right, Bryce. We need to stay competitive. If one thing we're not going to mess around with is our teachers, and our admin. They're the ones that bring value into the school system. They're the ones that change market form, fit, or function, of our students. Them employable skill sets and what these kids are supposed to know in order to create value. So that's my point on this, is you can only tread water so long. And so you can't stay competitive by not giving people raises, but at the same time, we're the only school system, to Mr. Cooper's point in the beginning of this, we're the only school system currently with kids in the school, which that creates financial hardship. We've got employees right now, at least one probably, or how many bus drivers did we have going back and forth to Heartland? They're probably not getting paid for those routes. So you're darn right there's going to be hard decisions. So if we're giving this raise, the expectation is people need to understand we can't keep doing what we're doing and get anywhere else. We've got to look for where we can create value to our local businesses and our community. And by doing that value, and that's certain skill sets that focus on certain industries in our communities. And by doing that, we may also help the town out by pulling business into our community. So I hope the 100 people that's looking at this population decrease, unless you guys can figure out how to get people having more children, and I'm serious about that. You ever ask the question of why people are having less children? Maybe all this corporate predation, the fact that maybe they think they can't afford to have children, the lack of housing, things like that. So at some point, I'm probably going with this raise, and Dave, I think one of your issues, is maybe the same one as mine, is we get this thing presented and it's like a bundle. So we're doing 2% for everybody. So I don't really know the percentage. Yeah, that sounds easy and fair, as far as equity goes at all levels, but that's a little different at your different levels as far as the 2% raise goes. But I'm going to be honest with you, in my career, if somebody gave me a 2% raise, I don't know if I would have been happy with it. So I'm just trying to keep that in perspective here. But one thing y'all better figure out is we got to start doing things a little differently. We got to figure out what is that value we add that we can add additionally to these markets, and I mean our communities, and increase student count and basically increase the intelligence of our students. And I think we've got, again, I got 3 of them that's living proof of what that school can do. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what we're doing, but we got to look at different avenues. And I think curriculum's part of that. How we fund and how we pay people is part of that. And how and why we have to be in the real estate business and bus business is beyond me. So I may, my idea is maybe a little out there, but there's certain things we have to be looking at going forward here. This is, you're exactly right. Is it sustainable or not? I don't think anybody in this room can answer that question right now. Just depends, maybe 2 weeks from now, we don't have any kids in our school. Then we're gonna have to make a decision, do we pay people then? And this and that. So I mean, there's a lot of things, but we can't predict the future. And I just think this is the right thing to do right now. And then it may lead us into different situations down the road, but we're gonna have to face those. We're gonna have to face those. It's just like, what we're gonna talk about here in a little bit. We're gonna have to face these decisions as they come at us. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I think the thing to keep in mind is that we have to all keep an open mind and look at possibilities of changing the way we do things forward, because we're going to be in a tight spot going forward. Let's just all try to keep an open mind and be open to doing things differently.
So the agenda item is, what we're looking for is a recommendation for approval of teacher collective bargaining agreement. So I'm looking for a motion.
I think you already have a motion in a second. We're in discussion.
Did I miss that?
Bryson.
I'm so sorry.
I motioned, I don't know who.
Yeah, Rick motioned, I second.
I'm sorry, thank you. All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Esposette and a second by Mr. Bedke. Is that correct? Is there more discussion?
I just wanted, let's clarify, because Mike, you started talking about the 2%. This is just a teacher's contract that we're voting on right now.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, well, okay.
It's item 6.2. All right. I believe, are we on Mr. Turflinger to go first?
Yes, I went first.
We'll do an oral vote. Mr. Turflinger?
This has been one of the toughest things I've had to vote on since I've sat down in this chair. And I absolutely want to vote yes, but I can't do it. There's no plan. I've seen no plan. There's nothing that says, like a company standing on this hill and they can see that hill and they need to build a bridge to get there and they know it's going to take this long to get there and it's going to cost this much. I'm not seeing that, and I'm sorry. I support the teachers. I think everybody deserves a raise, but this borrowing money, digging a hole, when you're in a hole, the first thing you need to do is quit digging. So I'm going to have to vote no.
Mr. Hensley?
Yeah.
Mr.
There's
Esposette?
a lot of those things done, so.
Yes, approved.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Bedke?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-1. Salary increases for classified and administrative staff. If I understand correctly, we have a 6.3A for classified staff, 6.3B for admin, and 6.3C for bus drivers. The recommendation is a 2% raise for classified and administrative staff, so I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
There's a motion by Mr. Esposette to approve a 2% raise for classified and administrative staff. Is there a second?
So are we looking at those separate then, or are we doing it as a group? Because didn't Dave, you wanted it separate, right?
Yes. What I wanted to suggest was that we do a compromise, a 1% raise for
Well, let's discuss, so first of all, we're just.
Are we on classified or are we on administration?
I'm sorry for you, I'm just a little confused because we're separating.
I think
So I need
I
to,
wanted a separate vote for each.
okay, so then I guess we're looking for a motion for the classified staff.
Period.
Can I interrupt just a minute? Sorry. They are back for the presentation. I don't know when you want to
Okay.
do that.
Let's do that.
I mean,
All right.
are you to plug?
That sounds good.
I'm sorry, but
All right, so we're going to move to 3.2, the Heartland Career Center presentation on the agenda. Are they still here?
there's Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Welcome.
I don't know if he's connected audio. There he is.
Mark, can you hear us?
And
Okay, we can hear you.
waiting on Steve Downs and Tony Poley to jump in.
I'm watching for him here.
Appreciate the opportunity to get together with you this evening.
Dave, we appreciate you taking it. So.
Here's one of them. I think that was Steve. Steve, can you hear us?
Me?
Yep, okay, good. We can hear you.
I certainly can, yes. Loud and clear.
Good. We're waiting on one more. Hey, Steve. Yep. Oh, it should be that you should just need should just need the code. Let me look for it.
Actually, we need to go to the timeout anyway.
All 6 school corporations, 5 both.
Should be it.
Yeah. But they have to get all back. One job, the deal's back.
I'm sorry. Yeah, she gives me cranberry.
Right.
Okay, here it is. So you'll dial in. You'll need the meeting ID, which is 826-750-4531, and then it'll ask for a passcode.
I don't think it matters.
77.
I was just curious if they didn't get everybody on board.
Yep. Yep, I'll text it to you. All right, bye.
Randy, Tony's trying to get in.
I don't see him yet.
Probably have to hit it twice, join with video. I did.
Yeah, I don't see him yet.
Make sure he's on the right Zoom, Mark.
Mark, how's things going down there? Getting a little better?
Hey, we're doing all right.
You know he's fixed.
Mom? Been doing a lot of praying.
I say what?
Been doing a little bit of prayer, so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
He doesn't sound good, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Hey, he looks pretty good. I was looking at him and thought, you got makeup on? Or is that no, huh?
I look as good as it's gonna get.
You don't have those girls down there fixed up before you eat?
Oh, heavens no.
Yeah, they said they can make me pretty, so you know they can make, do miracles, so.
Here we go, here's somebody. I think this is Steve Flack. Hey Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So there's Steve, and I just sent Steve Downs the link again, just in case he got the wrong one.
No, I did, it's Tony.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's Tony. I sent it to Tony.
Ready to get started in another meeting.
All right, and then while we're waiting,
I'll come back to you.
just Missy, for the record, we're gonna do the roll call for Mr. Flack. So Mr. Flack, just for the record, we did a roll call. Are you present?
He was.
Why don't we start?
Yeah.
Tony said he's waiting for the meetings to start.
He must be in the wrong meeting. If you could text him and tell him I sent him the link again, make sure he clicks on that link.
Randy, I don't know, they may be having some tech, mine did that for a while, then I had to hit the button twice before it joined, so.
Okay.
Doing that to him, so.
Steve, can you hear me?
There are two Steves here.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Flack, can you hear me?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
We can't tell which one you're talking to.
All right, well, I'll call Steve Flack, Mr. Flack. Mr. Flack, for the record, for the record, we need to know if you're present. It's strange because the box is green, like he's talking.
Yeah. There is Tony.
There it is.
Here we go. Let me talk to you. Hey, Steve Flack, can you say that you are present?
Steve, can you say you're present? The suspense is killing me.
Yes, I'm present.
Okay. Sorry, we're having.
All right then, it looks like we're ready for 3.2, the Heartland Career Center presentation.
I thought somebody said, could you go private?
No. All right.
All right, let the Heartland presentation begin. I think they're ready.
They're ready if you want to.
Just tell them to go.
Heartland, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Whenever you're ready, you can present to us.
Okay, well, thank you. This is unrehearsed, and we'll do the best we can to get you some information, and certainly want to give you an opportunity to ask questions. We've been involved in a federal grant process a year ago, May. Wabash County Commissioners were actually the only ones eligible to apply for the grant, and they have enough confidence in us to choose us as a recipient of the grant, because we've been talking to them about, we've got a good problem. We've got more students and more programs than we've ever had. And the basis of the grant is actually aimed at adult training leading to certifications. I've made no bones about it from the start that we got involved in the grant for selfish reasons, to add square footage that is available for our high school students. And the federal people have made it known that the building could be used for high school students. There's $50 million available through 3 states. It's on a rolling cycle on a competitive basis. We were told that the sweet spot for the grant was about $3 to $5 million. So we come up with a $5 million project, $4 million building, and $1 million worth of equipment. And you know, the training in the facility would be aimed at advanced manufacturing and healthcare related directions for our high school students. And we're excited about the opportunity. They'll see it come along again in our lifetime, where you'd have a chance to add square footage on the government's dime. I really haven't went public yet in requesting financial support from the community, but we already do have nearly $250,000 in support from some individuals and a foundation. A large request still out to a foundation they're considered. So our the grant is an 80% grant, so we would have to, again, we would have to come up with 20%. So to get $4, we got to come up with $1. David has been on with it, with us since the get-go on it, and I believe is well versed to answer some questions. And Tony Pulley is our school board president, and of course Steve Downs is our attorney. He could speak to some of the financing options more specifically. certainly open to questions.
Well, I think it's a win-win-win for the county and the community. You know, and I think the thing that MCS needs to look at is one thing. You are us, right? I mean, HCC is a part of all these school corporations. So I look at you guys basically an asset, right? And the utilization of that asset is what we need to focus on. And the other part of this is, Mark, it is a little being selfish with high school kids, but we're gonna also use this for workforce development, which I thought was part of this. I mean, that's heavily needed. We need to attract businesses to grow population. We need to provide jobs for people to have more kids, which in return has a heavier tax base. We can provide housing, and more schools. So all this stuff kind of plays together, and I gotta admit, this is a little bit competing. It's not competing. I think we need to search and find how we augment with what Heartland does, and especially towards, like Sue said, the employability skill sets is, I think, a big differentiator, from what we're doing now, which we do need to do in the future. So where it's somewhat of additional cost, I do have faith that people in the community will step up on this. My only real concern, to be honest, is if we fund this, then there's no backstop, right? They go, well, you kind of got funding, but I think this is important enough for the community, the county at large, and we're all in it as a region, that it's kind of a win-win-win. It's up to us whether it's a win for MCS, is how we utilize it. So the only question I had, our contribution of 14% of this value, is that froze for the duration, or is that adjustable to the students that we have at Heartland?
Want me to handle that, Mark?
Dave, please.
Yeah, no problem. Mike, the statute reads that your percentage allocation is fixed as of the date the advance is made. We are required to draw one half of the advance before May of 2021 and the balance by May of 2022. So I have asked that question to the DOE exactly as to whether or not your percentage is fixed as to the date you file our petition, which are the percentages shown in the resolution that you have before you, or whether it's when we first make the advance. And they haven't been able to tell me that yet. So it's a little in flux. We don't know the exact answer to that. But it's going to be somewhere, unless your relative enrollments change a lot, that's going to be pretty close. The percentages that are in the resolution are going to be pretty close to what it's going to be.
Yeah, the only other comment I have is I think that Work One would want to have skin in this game a little bit, because ultimately, I mean, just upskilling our employees, I mean, there's some state funds that, Governor Holcomb or something, maybe they could look at that, but, to supplement. But I just think it's a win-win. I appreciate you guys' work. So.
Mr. Self, could you put that document up on the screen, please?
Going slowly.
Any other board questions?
Well, are we going to vote on this?
Yeah, in a minute here, I'm gonna make a motion.
Well,
I
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion and you second it then.
Well, isn't this just the presentation?
No.
Yes.
Yes, this is
I thought they were asking
3.2
for-
Heartland Career Center
6.5.
presentation. And then back at 6.5, we'll get there to that'll be something that we'll vote on, action will be required. But I believe right now, we're just at 3.2, the Heartland Career Center. Is that correct?
We're just on the presentation.
Is there a reason we can't go ahead and do this now? While they're on to ask any questions?
I got a question. Can someone kind of explain, I just want to make sure that I want to understand how the high school, how our students are going to be able to use this facility as opposed to just being for adults. Is that clear in your mind yet, or did we address that?
Yes.
The way that the grant applies to the students as well as the adults, the students will be taking the same classes. They'll be taking the same type of adult classes that give them certifications and licenses to go into work. Those could be the classes like we have currently. There could be additional classes like electricians, HVAC, additional medical field. There not be integrated training on the same type of training as the adults get. So basically, the adult education will start after the kids go home, husband. That's the time. And this is all with other colleges and universities to work on with this. Right now, at this point, we're trying to get the building. It's probably starting to work for us to do. Manchester right now has 76 students at Heartland. PPE, which is for technical education credits that come from the state, on top of the tuition credits that the state provides in Manchester. They're also providing $141,000 PPE. So that comes to you from these programs. That would be a question you have to. So basically, if we had somebody in one of these upper level classes of state funding heavily, if you had 5 new students in the program, you would cover your share, possibly. How many?
Did that answer your question, Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I mean, the high school students would be in there during the day and then adults in the evening, is that the idea? Or?
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, students during the day and adults at night.
Raju, also we're having some really good conversations with Manchester University about potentially having a satellite nursing program down there. We're just in the initial stages, but those are the type of collaborative extensions that I think we can be very creative to offer students in the area.
So Mark, it's more certificate based, right? Like industry certificate, employability, along that line, right?
Well, it's can be degree based also.
Well, yeah.
But you know, that's really what we aim at is the industry recognized certifications, because that's what directly ties in to our graduation pathway options, which are going to be more and more of ways for students to graduate from high school.
I think we can address a lot of the critical thinking sections and stuff like that, you know. Again, I appreciate you letting me do the Lean Six Sigma class. I mean, that's just seeing the positivity out of that, the success of it. It's got to take someone to take that step to let it happen. So, you know, I appreciate that greatly.
Randy, would you scroll down to the portion about the finances, please? Well, where Dr. Grimmel, where was that at?
Keep going up. You went past it, right there.
There you go, right there. I'm guessing you probably can't blow that up.
Sure you can.
What we're looking at, gentlemen, on the screen is the percentages for the different school districts. Correct me if I'm wrong here, this is based upon this year's enrollment. Wabash City Schools would do 31%. MSD would do 27% of the $1 million. Peru would do 17%. North Manchester would do 14%, with North Miami picking up the other 11%. So, and as Mark said, you know, this was all based on $1 million, but we already have some private commitments that would lower that. So basically, so everybody understands, we're a 1/5 owner of Heartland. We're one of the member schools. There's 40 acres down there with a 2-acre building on it, and we're a 1/5 owner, and this is an opportunity for around $140,000 over 20 years to be a 1/5 owner in a $5 million facility that is actually part of our campus. I mean, we own 1/5 of it. So, any other questions while these gentlemen are on board? From our board?
I'm just thinking that we consolidate, if we're having to vote on this, we'll do it now. I don't see a reason to wait.
I mean, I just feel like it's following the agenda. We can move everything all around. I think the part of it was there was a presentation, and then this was under the action items 6.5.
Is there any opposition from the board to go ahead and vote now while these gentlemen are online?
Well, I guess they don't need to be online. I was just saying that for Mark's sake, so, you know.
I just think out of respect for Mark, it's obvious he's not feeling well, that we could just, I'd be glad to text him and let him know. Or the other two gentlemen could stay on. So are you guys okay with him signing off, Mr. Hobbs?
Well, I have no problem if you have concerns, let's talk through them. It's a $4 million project. $4 million building. But Peru is waiting for us to jump into their meeting right now also.
I think we're good though, aren't we? Or was there anybody else that wanted anything?
Are there any, does anybody on the board have more questions? I don't. Mr. Flack, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Hensley, do you guys have more questions?
I think we're good, Mark. You guys can go ahead and do your Peru meeting, and then we'll let you know, okay?
We do have 30 days from November the 2nd that I have to actually commit. So.
Thank you. We're aware of that. So we have it on the rest of the end of the agenda here, and we'll vote on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, so we are at 6.3, salary increases for classified and administrative staff. And if I understand this correctly, we want to have 3 separate votes, one on classified staff, one on administration salary increase, and one for bus drivers salary increase. So 6.3A, the recommendation is 2%. So I guess I'm looking for a motion for a 2% raise. Is that right? Did I do that correctly?
Which group?
Classified.
Classified.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right, so there's a motion by Mr. Hensley and a second by Mr. Bedke. Is there discussion?
Yes. I asked to do this for a reason, because when you do this, there's quite a, in the middle of a global pandemic, doing a blanket 2% raise for everyone, there's quite a difference between what one group gets and what another group gets. So that's why I asked to have it separated. I'd like to push these things a little closer together by giving one group a 1% for 1 year only, just because of the situation that we're facing for next year. And it would end up being $747 for one group, $531 for another, and $303 for another. If we were to take the 1% from the 14 in the administration group and put that over in the other two groups. So basically what I'm saying is give the administration a 1% raise and give the other two groups a 2% raise, actually be a little more than 2, if we take that money and add it to the 2% as proposed. I'm just trying to push things a little bit closer together due to the pandemic and the situation that we're facing next year. Everybody deserves a raise, or nobody deserves a raise. But this, we pushed the teacher contract, we pushed those, the top and the bottom, closer together, and I'd just like to do the same here if the board agrees. Or the other 1% could go and be put towards, with the 20% increase that went into the DLGF for ECA contracts, we could take that 20 grand and the 10 grand that we save here, that's 30,000. That's a pretty good start on another counselor.
I think I need some clarification, because I thought we were really intentional about not compressing the salary in the teacher's contract. Am I incorrect? You just said that we pushed we compressed the salary with the top and the bottom.
Yeah, we raised on the teacher salaries. We went on the bottom end of the scale. We're giving almost a 5.5% increase, and we only gave the top 3%. And I'm just proposing to do the same thing here, to give the classified, you call them one group, I don't know, this paper says they're two groups. The two lower paid groups, I'm just trying to give them a little bit more and not quite so much, push them a little closer. It would make, as presented, the 2% raise is $14.95 for administrators, $404 for classified, and $300 for bus drivers. If we do 1% for the top group and 2%, a little more than 2.5% for the other two groups, it comes out to $747, $531, and $303, and everybody gets a raise.
Mr. Sarver, would you answer my question about the salary compression?
So for the teacher contract, we avoided the salary compression by allowing everyone to move up a level, assuming they qualify based on their evaluation. But what I think is being suggested here, that because our salary increments are flat dollar amounts, not percents, that we're not giving a 2% raise for the top end and a 2% raise for the bottom end, which we know is not equitable if you're looking at the dollar amounts, because the top end makes twice the bottom end. So we give a flat dollar amount, which is just a higher percentage for the younger teachers or less experienced teachers, and a lower percentage for the top end. So we did avoid the salary compression, but you are giving a different percent raise to everybody.
And in bargaining, our conversation was not about percentages.
No, in fact, that was an IRB thing years ago when we had to put the contract together. It was much easier to be in compliance and just have a set dollar amount for every increment.
Okay, so thank you. So they really are, when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about two different things. So we just approved the teacher bargaining agreement, but now this is the salary increase for classified and administrative staff. And typically, they're all together. Is that, we give a same percentage for everyone? Like, just what's normally done?
Yeah, I mean, that's just been past practice, is that we've done a straight percentage for classified and admin. And bus drivers are classified, so they would fall in that classified category. So I guess you could say there's two groups, administrative and classified. But yeah, that's been a common practice.
So I guess I'm not following that it's unfair or inequitable to give, like, to me what seems unfair is to give one group, to give two different percentages for the two groups. I'm not following how it's
So what
It's
you
not
did with
there.
the teachers, it's right here.
No, that's not what we did.
Yes, you did. The paper's right here from Dr. Grimeau. It says teachers in the top of the scale at 67.6 are receiving around a 3% increase. Teachers on the bottom of the scale are getting 36.2 and are receiving around a 5.5% increase. And I get normal practice, and I don't have a problem with normal practice, except we're not in a normal year. And we're not gonna be in a normal year next year. All I'm trying to say is, everybody deserves a raise. Why would you give one person four times more than you give another person when everybody's on the same team here? I'm not trying to lighten anybody's commitment. Everybody, you know, we got a wonderful school district here. But we're not in a normal year, and we got $258,000 to make up next year. Once you give it, you can't take it back.
So what I think we have here is a motion and a second. Dave, it feels like you kind of mixed in maybe a different type of motion in your thoughts of why.
Discussion.
In a discussion, right? So can we?
Because we're talking about classified right now. We're talking about, that was the motion to give
So
them 2%.
classified, we're at 2%.
Right.
So if we see if there's any other discussion, then I think it would be appropriate to vote on the motion.
Is there any more discussion?
I have, so Dave, I think I understand what you're trying to do. The thing that confuses me, I understand we're in a global pandemic, but your recommendation doesn't save us any money, it just reallocates money. And in fact, in the one recommendation to have it we could have half of the money for a new counselor, then we would actually be spending more money to get the new counselor. And so I'm not sure the global pandemic, when we want to spend the exact same money, if not a little bit more, is the reason to do this.
It was just an option. We are in a global pandemic. Over half of our kids are in a single parent home, and we got one counselor in charge of 500 kids, which is over 1/3.
I understand that.
Okay, so the challenge was laid down to me, find a way. So I just found a way. I just found you $35,000.
Right, and then we gotta come up with.
And that's an option if the board wants to do it, or we can give everybody a 2% and move on. All I'm doing is putting this out there, but here's a way. Our number one job is taking care of kids and educating kids. And I don't understand how somebody's supposed to take care of 500 kids in 3 different buildings. If we can find the money, I think we need to do it, and everybody's got skin in the game.
So this is more about hiring a counselor than
It's either or.
I just want to make sure, I mean, if we need to hire an additional counselor, let's try to come up with the funds to do that without robbing Peter to pay Paul.
There's gonna be a lot more of that coming up. $258,000 worth next year. But you know what? Mr. Esposito has pretty much asked for a call to question. So, you know, I've had my piece. I had my say.
Fair enough.
You let's go ahead and vote.
Mr. Becky, did you have more to say?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Anybody else?
Hey, I got similar concerns, I mean, so, and again, so we had a committee, we had an attorney, and we had folks, you know, so the teacher's part is one thing, you know, so, you know, past president doesn't mean we keep doing it that way again, but in this case, you know, your alternative, I see, you know, I work through your numbers, if you reallocate some from admin, then you're bringing the actual dollar raise to a similar amount across these classifications. I mean, I know what you're talking about. And if you didn't want to reallocate that and subvert it to provide funding for something else, you know, I can see that. But I don't think, you know, again, I don't think anybody in here has a magic ball. So, you know, all the staff and all these people have to understand, you know, yeah, we're giving raises and you have to stay competitive. I mean, that's the thing that you have to look at here, or at least that's what's in my mind. So if you Indiana as a total, but are we still 51st paid, highest paid for teachers as a state? So this is something that, you know, this part, I think we have to satisfy our local community, but I think this is more of a state and a national issue as far as pay goes. You know, but we are, you know, we're kind of, it gives me knots in my stomach thinking about this borrowing money to pay people. And yeah, I keep hearing the word attrition, which to me means heavier load. So do you want to get paid $50 and carry a 50-pound bag, or you want to get paid $60 and carry a 60-pound bag? I think lo and behold, you know, that's my crystal ball for the future, is looking at it that way. But you're right. I mean, there's hard decisions to be made. We're making one tonight, so.
All right, so the motion on the table by Mr. Hensley and a second by Mr. Bedke is to increase classified staff by 2%. We'll take a vote beginning with Mr. Hensley.
You would start with me.
I think it's your turn.
I'm going to vote yes.
Mr. Esposek?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I vote yes. Mr. Flack?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you folks. What am I voting on?
A motion to increase classified staff salary by 2%.
Yes.
Mr. Bedke?
Yes.
Mr. Turflinger?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. And now the 6.3B administration, the recommendation for approval is a 2% raise. So I'm looking for a motion.
So the classified staff, that includes bus drivers?
I'm really confused about that still. Just
I'm
gonna
okay if
go
you did
through
include
the
bus
next
drivers.
order.
Yeah, bus drivers would be part of
I'll
classified.
make the motion.
All right. So,
So what did Mike just motion?
Mike, what's your motion? Is it for the is it for bus drivers or administrators?
Oh, I thought you asked for a motion.
I did ask for a motion. Then there was another conversation and it's just starting to feel like a circus. I need a motion to increase, the recommendation for approval is to increase administration staff by 2%.
That's not a motion, that's a recommendation.
Yeah, I'm looking for emotions.
I'll make a motion that we increase their pay by 1%.
Okay, just because of the Zoom, if Mr. Hensley had the motion on the table.
He did.
Did he sign? Did I not hear that?
Mike did make a motion.
I withdraw my motion.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hensley, I didn't hear you make a motion.
Okay, so currently, we have a motion by Mr. Turflinger to raise administrative pay by 1%. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second by Mr. Shaw. Is there discussion? I think that it's extremely unfair to only give a 1% raise to administrators when we're giving 2% to classified and between 3 to 5% to our teachers. Our administrators, they worked over the summer, they've worked outside of contract hours, they have no one negotiating for them as the collective bargaining unit does. And to me, the fair thing is to give classified and administrators both a 2% raise. Is there other discussion? All right, then I'm going to call for a vote.
Why?
What was that? He had something to say.
Sure. Mr. Flack?
Well, I disagree. I agree with what Ruth is saying. I mean, our administrators are on the front line 24/7. I mean, I have nobody here negotiating for them as well. 2%, I mean, that's pretty standard. Yeah, I think it deserves 2% easily, in my opinion.
Any other discussion? Then I'm going to call for a vote. Mr. Esposito. The motion on the table is to increase the salary increase for administration staff to be 1%.
No.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
I vote no. Mr. Flack?
No.
Mr. Bedke?
No.
Mr. Turflinger?
Yes.
Mr. Hensley?
Yes.
Okay, motion fails 3-4. So I'm looking for another motion for a salary increase for administrative staff.
Can I make the motion for 2%?
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Esposito for a 2% raise for the administration class, and a second by Mr. Flack. Is there discussion? All right, since it's the same item, 6.3B, I'm going to start with you again, Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Flack?
Yes.
Mr. Bedke?
Yes.
Mr. Turflinger?
Yes.
Mr. Hensley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Superintendent, we're on item 6.4, Superintendent Contract Addendum. We had a hearing for this 10 days ago. I'm looking for a motion to approve the Superintendent Contract Addendum. The only change there is to add a year to the contract.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Bedke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
I think there's a second by Mr. Esposito. Is there discussion?
How is this different than what we voted on?
The last time we voted to extend the invitation for the contract, another year on the contract, then we had the hearing of it, and now we're actually voting for the contract addendum. It's just the process. All right, then I'll call for a vote. I think it's your turn to go first, Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Flack?
Yes.
Mr. Bedke?
Yes.
Mr. Turflinger?
No.
Mr. Hensley?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1. Thank you. We're on 6.5, which is the Heartland Career Center EDA Grant Joint Resolution. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Bedke to approve the Heartland Career Center EDA Grant Joint Resolution, and a second by Mr. Turflinger. Do we have further discussion? All right, then I'm going to call for a vote. I vote yes. Mr. Flack?
I'm sorry, can you clarify what we're voting on here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Dr. Grimeau or Mr. Markham, would you clarify the vote?
It was for the Heartland Career Center EDA grant. It's the joint resolution that Manchester Community Schools would contribute 14% of $1 million towards the $5 million for the addition at Heartland Career Center.
Mr. Flack, did you hear him? So Mr. Flack, if you can hear us, we're not able to hear you.
I think I saw a thumbs up.
Oh my goodness, I've lost count. Am I the only one that's voted? Yes. Mr. Bedke?
Yes.
Mr. Turflinger?
Yes.
Mr. Hensley?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Flack?
This is for the Heartland?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank
Ruth,
you.
Ruth, can I just make sure we did the, when we were talking about administrative classified staff, did we vote for all three, for the bus drivers? I know there was, just want the minutes to reflect, so we don't have to go back.
Yes, yeah, bus drivers are included in classified staff.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, discussion, information. In this section, these things do not call for action. It's simply discussion and information. 7.1, Policy 3250, telework. This is a first reading.
Yes, we brought this back. Telework is for anybody needing to work from home, that they would get permission to do that. This does not include the teachers. We actually did that through discussion, so they are aware that they can work from home as long as they can provide high quality teaching. So it is strictly for those that are non-teachers. And if they can perform their duties at home, then they would be allowed to telework. Any questions on this policy?
Could you scroll down to the end, please? Before this was modified there under procedures for requesting telework, there was a paragraph in there that's been eliminated now. Is there an appeal or grievance process to this?
If it doesn't say anything, yes, there is.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
If it does not indicate that it's not, then yes, you can file a grievance if you choose to do that.
Thank you.
Hopefully no one will, but.
Well, this policy's got a lot of major change, so.
Any other discussion? All right then, 7.2. Mr. Hensley, do you have a legislative update?
Yeah, we had an election and they're still counting. So, but I think that, legislatively, the region's got three major goals. That's to look at, the improvement in 30 for transport in the northern part of the state, through our region, to bring commerce in. It's to work on basically the infrastructure of the internet, and you know why. Now we see the usage, the true need with that, and so there's, the region's got some goals basically, and then the big one that, I talked about 21st century skill sets are, in pre-K, so there's a lot of action in that activity, and I think, the Heartland concept tied together. I'm hoping this group that they formed, these 100 people with the county that are going to work on population, I'm hoping that some substantive actions come out of there from a countywide. But I think as the school, legislatively, hopefully things don't get tight and so, there's a lot of things up in the air. I mean, you're going to have new cabinet members, you're going to have somebody new running the DOE. So it ought to be a pretty exciting time to see, well, or the other way, it depends. But, there's going to be changes made, everybody knows that, so we'll see what happens. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Did you have more? I'm sorry if I cut you off. Okay. All right, hearing of patrons. Would anyone like to comment?
Jody, so I apologize if this seems completely random, but in light of the cross-country team being up here, I just wanted to add one thing. I know there's talk of a cell phone tower being put up. For the record, where they board a sampling is right on our course that's been kind of set and permanent for the last 15 years.
There is room 10 feet to the north and other areas out there that won't impede with that. Because we paid a fencing company years ago to come in and put permanent markers where the corners are. That's concrete, that's in the ground. Anyway, it's right there. I assume that's what those wooden stakes were, where they had to move to run our invite this Saturday. So if we can consider the location of that, that's all.
What did you say is in the way?
Well, it looked like they were going to be building, if that's still happening.
Yeah, we'll have to alter the course just a little bit around that.
And there's a reason that it has to be like right there on that,
Yeah.
location.
Well, now it is, yeah, because all that's passed through.
See, okay, so.
Yeah.
But
we'll work through that.
We gotta alter the course instead of moving the tower 10 feet? Is that right?
Yeah. A little bit.
Seems a little reactive than proactive, but okay, I just wanted to, maybe it's too late, I guess I should have said something sooner.
Can I comment real quick over here? I brought up, now I got a computer working correctly. This is our corporation website. At the top of each of the corporation and the buildings, this banner goes across that is our COVID information. If you click on this, it brings you up to a separate, kind of a special website. We didn't want to redesign everything. So this is all the information. There are a couple things here. Right down here is the new MCS. This is the event management that Mr. Screeton just put in place. Obviously, you can't read it. If you go home, you can check this out. This is a detailed plan for sports, athletics, those types of things for the winter sports. Just to clarify something, they've got several different levels depending on if we are in orange or yellow. Right now we are in orange, which means that there will be 2 spectators per athlete starting tomorrow night for the basketball game. And that's dictated by the county health department as part of this plan. So just be aware of that. I did want to put up here, I'm going to go back, positive case data. This is what Mr. Booker was talking about. Once again, kind of small for you to see on the screen there, but every time we have a positive case, Mrs. Heyer, the school nurse, will give us the information. We put the date, the location by building, the number of positive cases, the number of people quarantined. Now, that represents, so if there's one person with a case, that automatically quarantines them. But it will also add potentially additional ones. And comments there, and then we've added a total positive case total there. So once again, that is by building. Being very careful not to get too specific. I mean, I understand that some of you would like to know what class it is, those types of things. In a community this small, as soon as you start doing that, you have then identified who the student is. Here, we can just say that we had a positive case at the high school without us getting in trouble for sharing too much information about who it is, because like I said, you could process of elimination. If we said it was a certain class, you automatically know who it is. So if the kids knew that, okay, we had one kid that wasn't in class today, and we knew that we had a positive case in this class, whoop, it's them. And we've just revealed that information. So I understand it's a catch-22, going back and forth. We want the community to know what's going on. At the same time, we have to be very, very careful not to share too much information. Yeah.
On the total count there, I think that to not be misleading and not to be alarmist, we shouldn't have a total count from August 15th when school starts.
Yeah, that was just added today, correct?
Yes, I just added it today, and our
Okay.
first one was on September 8th.
Yeah, so if you don't understand this, you think, wow, we have 25 students, I can't see it correctly, that are positive. The reality of it is, I don't know how many have already quarantined and come back to school and all that, so if you're just looking at a glance, you're like, wow, we got 25 students. And that's really not the case. We've had 25 total students over the course of a year, or a course of 3 months, whatever.
Okay, well, we can work on figuring out how to, yeah.
So I think,
While we're on this subject, I think we have to protect information, but I mean, the truth is the grapevine is pretty efficient, you know, with some of that stuff, but. So I've probably got more text and phone calls about this COVID this week than anything. And so I kind of wanted to ask a question while you brought it up. If somebody's very concerned right now about their students, do they not have the option to pull them out of school and go virtual?
Absolutely. I mean, we work
Okay.
with each individual.
Well, I'm just making the statement to answer all those people asking me the same question. I think you're diligently, and the county officials are diligently looking at the infection rate. So, is anyone else, any other school operating live in the county? Right now?
I think MSD still is.
They still going? So I think that's what got, you know, again, I think you guys are, if we can clarify the communication like Bryce is saying, and then, you know, knowing that people always have an option, if you're that concerned, right, you have an option to pull your child, you know, and then I know you guys are diligent looking at this and are making decisions based day to day, you know, on how many people we have, and if things will get out of hand, you know, then you make the proper decision. So I'm just making a statement for the public to answer some of the questions and stuff I've got personally on it. So I just wanted to validate that they can, you know, go virtual if they feel that their child's threatened or for health reasons or whatever. So, thank you.
Is there a per grade on here at all? Like
No.
what grade?
no, we do not. We don't have it broken down by grade. Once again, we're small enough that those numbers would be identifiable. So,
Are there any other patron comments? Recognition.
Yeah, we have one more recognition for this evening. Excuse me. And it kind of piggybacks off of what we were just talking about. We'd like to recognize the efforts of M.A. Hire, our school nurse. This year M.A. has, she just adds a new meaning to the phrase going above and beyond. She has relentlessly pursued best practices to keep students and staff safe. She has answered numerous calls in the evenings and on the weekends regarding COVID, as well as calling every individual parent that has a COVID or positive or a close contact. She has just made so many phone calls. I kind of visualize her with the ear, or her phone stuck to her ear, because she's just been on the phone that much. But she has been absolutely unwavering in the following the guidelines and erring on the side of an abundance of caution. She has pledged to keep the spread of the virus at a very low numbers, which is evident in the time that she's devoted to educating our school community and being easily accessible to answer questions. We just appreciate MA for the countless hours and all those others that are working hard to keep our positivity rate very low, and we are one of the lowest in the surrounding areas. Thank you, MA, for the time you spent to keep us safe. You're appreciated for your knowledge, your thoroughness, your leadership during one of the most difficult situations our schools have ever experienced. It was with immense gratitude. We thank you for all you do to keep us teaching and learning in our schools. So thank you, MA.
I feel like we should clap. All right, thank you. Do you have superintendent comments?
I do. I have just a few here. Welcome to our new board members. We have 3 new board members that will be coming on in January. Mr. Booker standing back there, and Boyd Brubaker and Brian Raymer. They will all be joining us in the January term. And these gentlemen will be here for a 4-year term. I will be meeting with each new board member before the December meeting. I've already contacted all 3 of them, set up some dates, and we'll be looking forward to working with you. And congratulations. I'm sure you'll be excited to join us very soon. So, also at the December board meeting, we will be recognizing our outgoing members. So, love for you to be here to be part of that. So, and honor them for the time that they've devoted to MCS. So, thank you.
School board comments?
Yeah. This has been one of the toughest meetings I've ever been through. My intent was not to offend anyone, but similar to Mr. Hensley, I got a knot in my stomach over this borrowing money that just won't seem to go away. So I voted the way I voted. I don't apologize for it. I'm trying to do what's right. It's the scale. You know, you got to give everybody what they need, but you got to balance the scale for the taxpayers. And you know, again, I want to reiterate something I said month before last. This mess that we're in was not caused by Dr. Grimeau or Jeremy. You know, we've been status quo since 2009, and we can't keep doing the same thing. So if anybody was offended tonight, I apologize. I'm trying to do what's right.
Hey, we all feel the same way. I mean, you know what I was really gonna do? I was gonna throw out 3% for the admin and do another motion, to be honest, because I look at everybody, and I know one thing about success of any business or organization, I don't care what industry you're in, is that your employees are happy. And to a certain degree, you know, I personally, again, you know, it's 2% what we're offering, but that's not a great, you know, that's not a great raise in anybody's mind. It may be typical or whatever, but I mean, at the same time, we're in the situation we are. So, you know, your points are well taken, but you know, our administrators, our teachers, our bus drivers, our food service, our custodial staff, I mean, those are the value adders that make things go. And if they're not happy, then basically the customers, the students, the parents, and our business community, I don't see are going to be happy. So I think, you know, the big thing is, it's not, let's look at the total value of these percentages. You're not talking a ton of money. You know, it's enough to make you worry about, but I don't think we're not in dire straits either as MCS, and we should be trying to portray it like that. I'm not saying anybody else is, but I mean, at the same time, these are the people that make this school system go. And if they're not happy, you know, I don't see where any of us are going to be happy. So what we have to do going forward is we have to look at ways to make this work. We have to figure out how we add value. We're adding value now. How do we add different types of value? How do we pull the business community in further to invest in our school system, you know, and different things like that. So, you know, we just voted to invest in Heartland. We just voted to invest in our people. And now we're going to have to do the things that allow us to pay for it. So, your concern for well noted. No, I don't think there's anybody on the board that doesn't have similar concern. If you're on
Any other school board comments? Then the meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Oh, was there more? Did I miss something?
Mr. Self just reminded me, on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, we have the strategic plan. We would love for everyone to come, so.
The documents are here to sign.